listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. Once upon a time, audiences in Winnipeg were encouraged to follow the breadcrumbs leading to the weird and wonderful world of Manitoba Underground Opera. Their second production of the season, as we just heard, is a telling of a Brothers Grimm classic, Hansel and Gretel. To hear more, music director Monica Chen has joined me in studio alongside MUO executive director Brendan McKeen. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Your intros are amazing.
Oh, well, it's always wonderful to intro you into the studio, Brendan, and wonderful to have Monica alongside you. First off, Monica, let me ask, how's the summer been?
It's been pretty busy, I think, after a rowdy summer season finale of Mahler 6 with OM just assisting and seeing the giant hammer is always really cool. And then 2 weeks away at Tanglewood, hearing Tanglewood Music Center Orchestra doing Shasti 5 with Andres Nelsons.
Holy moly.
Is pretty cool.
No kidding. I feel like that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Hopefully you managed to get at least a little bit of rest in because we know how busy you are as RBC assistant conductor with the WSO and, all the stuff you do with Sistema and UMSO. Did you get at least a little bit of rest in?
I did take a break from my email mildly, but I was still studying even when I was at home with parents.
Well, at least you got a little bit of an email break in there.
Yeah.
And then, Brendan, what about you? I mean, I know that things have been busy for MUO following that season opener, Rocking Horse winner. You've been traveling around the province with the neighborhood opera tour Playtime, right? How's that been going?
Yeah, no, Playtime's been an incredible, wonderful little success. We did a bunch of our rural locations already, and now we're just visiting Winnipeg Public Library locations. Before one little trip right at the end back out to Steinbach.
Well, so fantastic. And we'll have to try and get you back on to talk more about that because, I mean, it is so fantastic the work that you do. And I know you're popping up in libraries and more. But first, we have to talk about this latest marquee, the second production in the 2024 Unwritten season, a performance of Hansel and Gretel at the Muriel Richardson Auditorium. It opens next week. Monica, how have rehearsals been going?
Well, we're just finishing up the staging rehearsals and really blocking out where everyone's supposed to be and what kind of things, the inner emotions and decisions as to why they're doing the things that they're doing, or how the stick ended up in Hansel's bowl and where's the story of the stick and everything's like that. All the tiny little things that just to make the show even more realistic in a sense, even though it's a fairy tale.
Can we talk more about that, sort of like the motivation behind the character? Because, I mean, so often we see you leading symphonic numbers, right? And maybe you get into a little bit of characterization or motivation, but not in the same way that you do when there's written word that accompanies a production. I know you appear in this production as part of Tapestry Opera's Women in Musical Leadership program. Is opera something you've done a lot of in your career thus far?
Not so far. I've assisted 3 operas so far in my lifetime. I think I've played more than I've assisted at
So
this
what's
point.
it like making that transition from player to leader of opera?
It's significantly different, actually, because as an orchestral player in the pit, you come in at the very last week, essentially. You just go and you sit in your seat. You have no idea what's happening. You just follow the stick, and then it's just back-breaking work until the show's over. And that's all you don't know. You don't even know what's happening on stage. Occasionally, the conductor will throw you a bone. It's like, oh, yeah, this is where the mushrooms fall out the sky or something. You're like, okay, that sounds reasonable. And sometimes you write funny little things in your parts, which is always like a running joke. But as part of the staging rehearsals, you actually see what's happening, and you see the outtakes of what they could have done, but they don't do, or the singers, they just make some hilarious offers. And honestly, I kind of think the staging rehearsals are more fun than the shows themselves in many ways. So that part of it is really so much more fun.
Let's talk more about the music of Engelbert Humperdinck. This is music you know well. You've played it before, right?
I have played this opera before. This is one
how
of the operas.
how would you characterize it?
Humperdinck, it's I described it earlier a couple days ago as Wagner light.
And he started out as an assistant to Richard Wagner in his career, right?
Yeah.
So there is that sort of influence that's there?
Mm-hmm. He definitely uses the late motifs very often, and he really captures the atmosphere and the mood of what's going on. So often my role in staging productions, the staging rehearsals, is letting them know kind of what the mood is and what they're painting and what are the tiny little motives that come in that kind of inform what the characters might be thinking. Like even when the witch is singing, you hear a little Gretel motive in the background. It's like, oh, it's kind of like she's running around even while the witch is doing whatever she's doing, you know?
Okay, Brendan, I want to bring you into the conversation here because Monica has just so wonderfully told us about the experience of kind of guiding the characters on stage through the music and making it all happen. Can you tell us more about who is going to be up on the stage? The cast was just recently announced. Who's in Hansel and Gretel?
Yes, good mix of returning favorites and first timers, kind of as MUO always does. Carmen Harris will be returning as Hansel, and new to MUO is Grace Budolowski, who will be Gretel. Miknia Nitu comes from us from Montreal as the father. Hometown favorite Kelly Robinson as the mother. Geneva Halverson as the witch, and Ashley Boychuk as the combined role of the Dew Fairy and the Sandman.
Very, very fun indeed. Can you talk more about the story? I mean, I think many people are going to be familiar with the tale of Hansel and Gretel. Humperdinck making it a little bit more accessible. It's not maybe quite so dark as the Brothers Grimm original. Hansel, Gretel, off in the woods to find some sweets, right?
Yeah, the tons of Hansel and Gretel playing, making jokes, little songs they sing to each other, and, you know, as it happens, they break a jug of milk, mom kicks them out, dad comes home and goes, "Oh, that's not good," which leads them on the journey through the woods. And in true operatic fashion, the journey in the woods is extended because it's like if you're going to put somebody in the woods, you may as well make an act out of it and then end it with a giant duet. So it's like, okay, in the story, that's a little quicker. It's a little longer. And then, you know, hilariously, they're in the witch's house, and you kind of see how I don't want to spoil anything because
don't.
You know, this production where we're bringing back James, who's projection designs last year from Castor and Pollux, those giant ones on the St. Boniface Cathedral. This time we're covering almost the entirety of 2 walls within the auditorium, the entire stage, as well as one of the other walls. So we're making real good use of light and color and bringing this story outside of an auditorium. So I don't want to give away the ending, but things happen.
Yeah, okay, no, very good. You'll just have to be there to see what happens. And when you were walking us through this 2024 Unwritten Season 1 inspired by literary sources, you were talking about how, though you would have loved to have just set the audiences loose in the woods, logistically not so doable. So instead, you've immersed them in the woods through the work of James. Have you had a chance to get in the space yet and see what this is going to look like?
Yeah, we went on Friday and basically took all of our harebrained schemes and literally put them on the walls. Came in, set up all the projectors, singers were in costume, moved around, spent 3 hours in there. And it's amazing to know in your head how big you want it to be, but then to actually see the 3 projectors lined up side by side, spanning the entire distance is like, oh, that is really big. I get it now. Cool.
Very immersive indeed. This is a production that's directed by Gillian Willems, working alongside Monica Chen. Monica, what's that experience been like working with Gillian and kind of going through this production of Hansel and Gretel?
It's interesting because she brings a lot of her expertise from the theater world, so versus working with an opera director. And the singers have told me also that it's great having Gillian because with a theater director, there's so much more movement and action with the body, and really beyond just like emoting what the character is feeling, there's a lot of movement in their body and just really showing what the characters are feeling and having very specific in certain cases, not all, choreography to really match with the music.
So this is a production that is suitable for all ages, Brendan, right? 90-minute production. MUO has made cuts, sung in English as well. Very accessible work indeed.
Yeah, that was the goal, to make sure that, you know, opera is available to everybody. And even if you don't know the story of Hansel and Gretel, which, you know, as we continue to grow as Canada, fewer and fewer people will know kind of those stories that we all know. But it's watching the 2 kids and having them find their strength in front. And that to me is something so universal about it.
Universal indeed. It all opens Wednesday, August 21st at the WAG Hamayork Muriel Richardson Auditorium. Runs through Sunday the 25th. Tickets available now through MUO, their website, ManitobaUndergroundOpera.com. We also have a pair to give away through the Classic 107 ticket window. It's back up on the homepage, classic107.com. A pair of tickets to a show of your choosing. So best enter there. But if you don't want to take the chance, in case your name doesn't get pulled, you can buy those tickets, secure them now. Cheaper online than at the door, but there will be tickets available at the door as well. ManitobaUndergroundOpera.com. Brendan, Monica, thank you both for being here this morning.
It's a pleasure as always.